All right, we are moving on, and this is again our last day of the Big Connect presented by Comcast Business. A big thank you to Ross and to Jeff Klaus, our chair, who put us in touch with Ross to be able to have him come on this morning. Now, we are moving into our next segment, and if you've ever wondered how mindfulness works and how it can work for you, then this is the place to start. Thousands of research studies over the past 40 years have demonstrated that mindfulness practices improve mood, help manage stress, increase concentration, and strengthen the muscles of compassion. These attitudes are critical to feeling like one's best self at any time. And Tara will explain how important mental fitness is and its impact on how we promote ourselves and make ourselves attractive to an employer. By the end of today's session, you will learn a few tips and techniques that you can use on the spot to be more responsive and less reactive to situations or circumstances around you. You will learn to stop and proceed with more conscious awareness and have less regret. It's my pleasure now to introduce Tara Healy, Master Mindfulness Instructor for Harvard Pilgrim. And Tara, thank you so much for joining with us this morning. We appreciate it, and it's great to have you on with the Big Connect.
Well, thank you so much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. And let me pull up my, all right. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me this morning. I feel like I'm perfectly placed here on the fourth day of this conference and really looking at personal and professional development. And I'm delighted to be talking about this topic, which is so important to me and has been for many years. And so what I'd like to do is just give you a little preview of where I plan to go in the next 30 minutes or so. So we're kind of at the welcome. I want to share a little bit about the science, talk about what mindfulness is and what meditation is, do some practice, and then talk about tools and resources. And from what I understand, there will be a room that we can go into after for questions. But my goal is to stop a little bit before 10:30 and open the floor at that time as well. So the word mindfulness and the word meditation gets tossed around a lot these days. And what I want to do is clarify what they are, what they mean, and to clear up some of the misconceptions about that as well. But I also want to underscore here that we are in really unprecedented times for those of us alive now. So historically, not necessarily, but for those of us alive in this world at this moment, we are undergoing, emotional, racial, social, political unrest, and it's all amidst a pandemic. And there's a phrase I've been hearing a lot of, that we're all weathering the same storm, but in different boats. And I love that last part because we are all in unique circumstances, financially, racially, socially. And so the impacts around us are going to vary quite a lot. And my hope is to introduce mindfulness and meditation as a tool to help support us, as one of course, many, many tools that we can use during this time. So let me first start with a formula that Dr. Judson Brewer used recently that I really liked. And some of you might be familiar with Dr. Brewer. So he's a psychiatrist, he's an addiction psychiatrist. He was at Yale for a while. He's now at Brown University School of Mindfulness. So the formula that he came up with that I really like is fear plus uncertainty equals anxiety. And fear is a natural response to the current situation that we find ourselves in, that, it's normal, it's natural, but fear likes to have answers to questions. And when it doesn't get that and we are left with feelings of uncertainty, what results is anxiety. And so again, I want to normalize that and talk about what is actually going on in the brain when we are feeling anxious and how can mindfulness support us. So this formula, fear, without having the answers it needs to help kind of tamp down that fear response, leads to anxiety, which again is just a natural response. So if we look at three brain structures, the neocortex, which is the rational part of the brain, it contains the prefrontal cortex, and that's like the CEO of the brain. So it's the part of the brain that helps us make good decisions, that uses history to plan for the future. It's a part of the brain that helps us when with impulse control, and it's really the rational, like the CEO of the brain. The limbic system is the more emotional brain, so it's where, you know, emotions and feelings and where the amygdala is situated. And then the reptilian complex is the part of the brain that controls heart rate and respiration. It's the more primal part of the brain. So when we are feeling anxious or stressed, the limbic system and the reptilian complex really work hard to support us. I mean, in a sense, to keep us alive, and that's a natural response. But what happens?
Laura?
Yes?
I'm so sorry. We're not seeing your slides.
Oh, wow. You are not seeing my slides, huh? Okay. Let me go back to the Zoom. Is that better? Hold on. How's that?
Yes.
Okay, so sorry, everyone. Let me I'll do a quick recap here. So here's our preview, weathering the same storm, but in different boats. This is the formula that I think is, you know, just sort of validating that when fear doesn't have answers, it leads to anxiety. Here's the parts of the brain. And what I want to do now is say a little bit about some of the research, because we know that mindfulness has increased in popularity, but in large part, it is because the science is validating it. So it's sort of taking it out of kind of the woo-woo and bringing us into more legitimacy. So you can see that, you know, back in the 80s, there actually were a few peer-reviewed studies being done, but it wasn't until around 2009, 2010 that the peer-reviewed studies really, really picked up. So this is in part why mindfulness has become so popular. Another research piece that I want to share with you is from two friends, Chris Liddy and Darren Good. They looked at 4,000 organizations offering mindfulness. And within those 4,000 organizations, they looked at, well, what are the themes or the benefits? And so distractibility, listening, collaboration, improved satisfaction, less burnout, perceived stressors as less, and improved mood and sleep quality. So across 4,000 organizations that offer mindfulness on a regular basis, these were kind of common factors. So let's go ahead and look now what mindfulness is and what it isn't. As I mentioned earlier, that there are a lot of misconceptions about it. And I'm going to give you a distinction between these two words. So what mindfulness is and what meditation is. So these are not passive techniques. They are not relaxation techniques, although relaxation and ease is a byproduct. We're not trying to create something special. So we're not creating a special state of mind. We're not analyzing or figuring things out. And we're not actually trying to stop thought. So the list could be longer, but these are very, very common misconceptions. So mindfulness is a very active, engaged practice, and we'll take a look at that. I'm going to give you kind of a big picture definition. It's a quality of mind that is awake and aware with an attitude of receptivity, curiosity, and interest to whatever is happening within and also around. And it is essentially a willingness to meet whatever experience you are having to allow for it. So in a way, especially with things that are unpleasant, we're learning to drop the resistance to the unpleasant and be able to relate to whatever is happening with kind of more space, more room, and ultimately to have more ease. So let me unpack this definition a bit. It's a quality of mind that's awake and aware and that knows it. So it's kind of like a meta awareness. And a helpful way to think about it is that during the day, through research, we know that about 50% of our waking hours, we're actually lost in thought. So lost in rumination, planning, remembering. But all of us have these moments of waking up from that, what's kind of like a trance-like state. And when we wake up, that's like a metacognition. We are now awake, we are aware, we're alert, and we actually know it. So we're awake and aware, and we know it. So being lost in thought, you are lost. It's a great phrase. You're not awake, you're not aware, you don't know it. The second part of the definition has to do with the kind of quality or attitude in the mind. And I love this image because when we look through a microscope, we are receptive and curious and open to what it is we'll find. In mindfulness, this attitude of receptivity, interest, and curiosity is essential to what it means to be mindful. So it is quality of mind that's awake, that's aware, that's alert, and that knows it. And that really helps you. When we know where our attention is, we can more easily intentionally regulate it. So let's look at what meditation is. And the fitness analogy is a really good one. I hate to overuse analogies, but I feel like this is a really good one. So think of meditation as a fitness routine for the mind. In other words, when you want a strong and flexible body, you pick an exercise and you engage in that exercise with repetition on a very regular basis, whether it's working against the resistance of weight as we show in the picture, or it's out for a walk, or something else. But you are, fair to say, cultivating strength and flexibility, not so that you're strong and flexible just during that formal time you set aside to work out, but you're actually employing that strength and flexibility in the service of your day-to-day life, so that you can carry things and walk where you need to and move your body in a way that you need to for ease. Mindfulness meditation is the same. So meditation is a bit like saying the word sports. There are lots of different kinds. The kind I'm talking about here is very specific. It is mindfulness meditation. And essentially what we're doing is we're picking an object to serve as an anchor for the mind. And the breath sensation in the body is really good one to pick. If breath is difficult for anyone, which can happen at any time, you could have a cold, or just breathing is you're not wanting to put your attention on breath. You could take your two hands and put the palms on your thighs and notice the point of contact, or even point of contact with the back of the chair. But essentially you need an anchor, so that when the mind wanders off, which it naturally will, we're not trying to stop it. We're just seeing that when we have wandered, we're returning. And then the mind will wander off again, and we see it, and we return our attention. And so you're doing repetitions in a way. The thinking mind serves you well. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. So it's the intentional regulation of attention, which helps to calibrate or steady the mind. Mindfulness just works better when the platform of attention is steadied. And that's what this kind of meditation will do, because thoughts slip in unnoticed. And so what we're doing in this practice is we're noticing with more frequency when we're formally setting aside time to practice. And so what I'd like to do is actually do just about 2 minutes of a guided meditation with all of you. So if you, in the spirit of really of what this is, of what this practice is, it's easy to talk about it, but it's like a good meal that you can think about, but until you actually taste it, that's where it really matters. So what I would love is if everybody just sits in a way that feels comfortable and relaxed, yet you're holding yourself upright where the spine is straight but not stiff. Your eyes can be open or closed. And so if you prefer to keep the eyes open, you want to just gaze downward just a little bit. We'll just literally do this for about a minute. So just take a moment to settle in and notice your body. And notice physical sensations from your activity so far today. So just really just kind of tapping into the body, noticing what's happening, pulsing, vibration, points of contact. And take a moment to begin to notice the rhythm of your breath. So breathing in and breathing out. Each time the mind wanders, simply return to the breath sensation. So you may notice the breath sensation in the abdomen, perhaps the chest, maybe the nostrils, or just the whole body, breathing in and breathing out. As thoughts slip in, which they will, not a problem. Just release the storyline, the memory, the planning, soften the body, and just return to that breath sensation where you feel it most prominently. Tracking the breath in and out. And I'll count back from 3 to 1. And when I arrive at 1, if your eyes were closed, you can allow them to open. So 3, 2, 1. Allowing the eyes to open if they were closed and re-engaging. So if any of you had anything like this going on in the mind, I just, again, want to say, you know, this is sort of the job description of the mind is to produce thought. And we just see it and we bring the attention back. It's just like, you know, working against the resistance of that weight in order to build strength and flexibility, only we're building steadiness and calibration of attention each time we decide not to follow the trail of a story and we see we're in it. So in winding down, I want to say this is from a friend who I asked if I could borrow it because I thought he did a really nice job capturing things that we hear a lot, which is, you know, you are doing it right when you see that you've gone off into thought and you bring your attention back. You're cultivating a steadiness of mind. When you focus on your anchor, you're actually detaching from the thought stream. Notice the mind is wandering. It is a moment of mindfulness because that's that, oh, I am awake, I'm aware, I actually see this. Are kind to yourself when your mind wanders. You're building the muscle of concentration. It's not wrong to have a wandering mind. This is what is happening in meditation. We're just simply saying we're not going to continue with the storyline that we may have caught ourselves in. And when you notice where the mind is wandering, it's actually giving you good insights into your own mental habit patterns. So we're sort of cultivating or developing a kind of mental fitness. So if you're inspired to practice, Dan Harris has a really good app called 10% Happier and a great book. But 5 minutes, you know, 5 times a week for 5 weeks is a really good way to just give it a try and to see what it's like and to enter without expectations of relaxation. Because when we remove all the things we're distracted by, we don't necessarily feel relaxed, and that's actually okay. So a couple ways to help you get there is set the intention, create the time and space, create reminders. And I would add work with resistance to doing it because that is a very, very common thing. This is a really quick technique that's nice, is when we feel provoked in some way. This comes from John Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And basically, you know, the more we feel provoked by something, it could be something someone said or did, that so remember this acronym STOP, which is you see the reactivity arising. Sometimes we don't see the reactivity. The reactivity arises, we lash out with something we say or do that we then later regret. But the more we actually practice with the mind and body in this way, the more we see that creeping up of that reactivity and we can stop, simply take a breath. What's happening at the level of thought, emotion, and body sensation, and then allow that to help you proceed. This is another one I love related to social media and just how often we're checking. Why am I tweeting, texting, and talking? So it's just that, the WAIT acronym. And this is a quote by the Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, and I won't read it because you all can see that there, but just simply to say that emotions are contagious, and that, you know, all of us in our lives have seen that when we're with somebody who tends to be very anxious, we can actually, you know, feel that. Dr. Brewer says it's sort of like somebody sneezes the anxiety onto you and you take it in and actually catch it. So that we're doing not only ourselves, but we're doing others a service. We have a whole bunch of free resources and videos, and every Tuesday and Thursday from 8:30 to 9, which is where I was this morning, we have this thing called Coffee House in the Clouds, and anybody can join, and we welcome all of you to join us. And then a bunch of free resources on harvardpilgrim.org/mindfulness. So with that, I know, you know, we have a few moments for questions right now, and also I understand there's an opportunity for us to go into another conference room where I'm happy to answer questions. And I want to just really apologize for the slide mishap. I thought I had shared my screen, but
This is Paul.
sorry about that.
I'm trying to think. I think I'm in the wrong room.
Are you? Are you? This lady speaking right now?
Yes,
Let
yes,
me
is that where
mute
I'm-
those. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
she's just going to finish and they'll pull us in.
All right. I think we got that covered. So appreciate you giving us this presentation. Let me see if there are any questions out there. And as you mentioned, we'll have you go into our Zoom networking lounge in just a moment.
Yep.
And that's another place where people can connect with you and ask some more detailed questions. But we're just checking on the Whova platform just to see if there are any additional questions out there. But again, thank you very much. And there's so much going on that this is so much more needed than even in normal times, but still needed that as well.
Yes. So Garrett, should I stop my share at this point?
Yeah, you can stop your share.
Okay.
Unless you have anything else on there. And
No.
We're going to see if we have any other questions out there. All right. Well, seeing no questions, I just want to again thank Tara for being with us. Thank you to Harvard Pilgrim for always supporting the chamber. And you can see the link in the chat. That's for the Zoom lounge and networking room sponsored by the Energy Efficiency Programs at Southern Connecticut Gas and UI. And Tara is going to head over there. That's an opportunity for you to be able to connect with her in a meeting setting so she can see you and you can talk directly to her. So again, Tara, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I just want to remind everyone that we do have the Foxwoods Resort Casino package that is still available. So the way you enter into that drawing, which we're going to be doing later today, is you can go into the exhibitor booths, go there, make sure you visit by one of the booths, interact, do a like, accept an offer or deal, and then you will be entered into the prize running for the Foxwoods Resort Casino giveaway. And again, thank you to Foxwoods, and thank you to Comcast Business for being our presenting sponsor of the Big Connect. Again, a digital Big Connect this year, but a good one nonetheless. We've had so many people who have been able to make connections on the platform, on the Whova website. It's been great to be able to see people still interacting and have business activity going on, even as we still deal with this pandemic. And hopefully in the very near future, we will be seeing a vaccine and we can get back to more normal business activity going forward. So again, thank you everyone for being here for the Big Connect.